Hey, on the Mark Tribe, we have PGA, that's Professional Golfers Association of America. Glitterati on the line. It's Eric Eshleman. Eric, man, I've been looking forward to talking to you. How are you?
Terrific, Mark, and I'm honored to be on with you today. Thank you for having me.
Are you kidding me? Look, I'm going to go back in the annals a little bit here, right? I've been in Columbus, Georgia since 2001. And early in my 10-year years as a golf teacher, I met a guy called Lee Harper. And he used to come over here for the odd lesson, and he held you in biblical regard, man. And so the first time I got to meet you, I'm like, okay, so this is the guy that Lee reckons is the brightest mind he's ever met. So look, I'm glad to feature you on the show.
Well, thank you much. Lee's cute claim to fame was he was playing Hubert Green when they were 12 years old at the Future Masters, and they got to 18, long par four up the hill, and Lee cold topped his second shot, 3-wood. Went up, he still had so far to go. He had to 3-wood again, and he made it. Excuse me, they were 10 years old.
Yeah.
And he made it. He made it for birdie on after he cold topped it. He made the next one. And Hubert told me he cried. It's a 4-hour drive from Dothan home, and Hubert cried the entire way home. But Lee to lose that way was pretty epic.
Yeah, Lee was a good one. God rest his soul. Okay, this is about you. For our global audience, Eric, look, folks in the United States know you, folks around the world probably not. So tell us a little bit about you before we go anywhere, please.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate. I played golf at the University of Nebraska. I was grew up in Arizona and was the Arizona State high school golf champion. So I had a little bit of game, and that led me to play golf for the University of Nebraska. And when I was done with school, I wanted to play the mini tours in Orlando. So I gave that a go, and just very unsuccessfully. But while I was there, I was working at Grand Cypress Resort in Orlando, and I would rake the bunkers for great golf instructors like Phil Rogers and Fred Griffin and Dr. Ralph Mann,
Legends.
legends. And I just, during that time, I saw these guys going to work, loving what they did. And it never really dawned on me that I could teach golf for a living, because everybody that I was seeing was enjoying their life and livelihoods and were making great money and having kind of an impact on people's lives. So I really dug in and started watching lessons and learning how to teach there. So I felt like that was almost like a being Mayo trained, to use a medical term. But we had just an incredible collection of probably a dozen instructors that I picked a little bit from each and a little bit from each. And then I started coming up with my own ways to fix things, and it went great there in Orlando. Then that golf school developed a joint venture with the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail here in Alabama, and I was asked to go be their director of instruction and head up golf instruction at the time, 7 locations, and train all these instructors or all these golf pros on the trail. And while doing so, I was teaching a lot of Birmingham Country Club members,
Yeah,
and they ended up coming to me one day and saying, "Hey, we're tired of coming out to the trail. We would like you to teach here at the country club." So I did that, and I was director of instruction for 6 years here. Started growing the junior program, and I've always been, teaching and coaching is kind of my soul.
mhm.
And then my predecessor, who was director of golf, retired after 26 years, Ben Freeman, and they asked me to become the next director of golf. So I've now been here for 23 years at the Country Club of Birmingham, and knock on wood, but I'm their 5th golf professional since 1898.
That's fantastic. And look, folks, the junior program at CC of Birmingham is gigantic. I mean, the kids coming out the woodwork there under your tutelage. And you were the 2019 PGA Golf Professional of the Year. So your efforts are not going unnoticed, that's for certain.
Well, we had just a couple weeks ago, we had 273 kids playing our junior club championship, and we had close to 700 people at the closing banquet that night. The competitors and their parents and grandparents all dressed in navy blazers and ties, and girls in their little sundresses. We had 86 little girls playing the event, a new record for us there. So yeah, we're a bit of a junior golf factory. We have 8 players in Division I programs at the time. So I've been very fortunate because the club made junior golf one of their priorities, and we have really grown, and we believe that that's what's going to perpetuate the membership here at the club.
Yeah, well, it's growing the game too, right? We're supposed to be
Correct.
growing the game. I must ask you this before we get onto the PGA Tour stuff, and you teach a few golfers at the highest level. Um, your son Ryan, you have three boys, but your son Ryan is a really good player, plays at the University of Auburn, and they're of course reigning national champions. I need to ask from one dad to another dad when we're both golf teachers, coaches deep down. And by this, you're advising other dads and moms watching and listening to the show. Okay. Um, being dad and being coach or being dad and mentor or whatever the case might be, it's not the easiest road to hoe. I mean, it's like a tightrope at times. So I want your insights for people listening to say, hey, maybe you teach your kid or maybe you advise your kid, but the blurring the lines happens very easy, and then sometimes that doesn't work out very well.
It's a tough road to hoe. It's a much tougher road than just turning your son or daughter over to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But I always felt like I was the front row seat of seeing everything he does, both good and bad.
Okay.
So I always started teaching him from a young age, and we had a great relationship, as we still do. I'm still his full-time coach, and we've had a great run. Early on, Coach Sewell at the University of Alabama, Ryan was a little boy and went through their Alabama golf camp several times. And Coach Sewell ended one of the meetings with maybe 200 parents there in their cart barn. And he said, "Hey, parents, let us coaches slot your children. You go and make sure you enjoy the trips and the tournaments and the time with as family. Enjoy that together."
Okay.
So I really took that to heart, that like, hey, we've all made those mistakes as coaching parents where we yell at the kid as soon as they get in the car after the double bogey on 18, et cetera, or what were you thinking then and there. And Coach Sewell really opened my eyes that, hey, we need to make this an enjoyable trip to Dothan, or we need to make this an enjoyable trip to Georgia. And we started enjoying our time being together. And then in doing so, it lessened the pressure. And my son is one that he plays best when he's having fun, when he's kind of like a Matt Kuchar or a Victor Hovland. He's very friendly, he's very nice. Now he wants to beat the heck out of you, but he does it in a nice way. So we just kept breeding that, like, let's go have fun in this big tournament, let's go enjoy our time. And we've continued that through. We had a great summer traveling to the Elite Amateur Series most of the summer, and we just kept that approach, is let's go to Newport, Rhode Island, and see, this is an unbelievable trip, and let's make golf good while we're there too. So things like that. And that's been part of my, yeah, we can fix the swing and the positions and the club face and the grip and make sure those are right. But I've learned that a big part of the success comes off the golf course, enjoying time with one another.
Okay. Great. How do you quell the inevitable competitor within? Because I hear you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try and do that this weekend. But golly, it's there's this fire burning inside, and we've got to be so careful with our words and such, and and more than words, even the non-verbal communication for parents who following, and because golf is going to go wrong. I don't care how good you are. So
Sure.
how do you deal with that side of it all?
Yeah. So when I was raising a junior out here at the club, when Ryan was, he would have been 4 or 5 years old, I was raising a junior at the club, and we were watching the state junior in Gadsden at Gadsden Country Club. And this probably 13-year-old at the time, flew it over the green out of bounds. His dad was standing, one of our members was standing back behind that green, and he took his umbrella and just threw it on the ground. So the young man followed through, saw it going out of bounds. Insult to injury, as he sees his father spike his umbrella into the ground. And that was a little bit of a learning moment for me. Then the tears were rolling out of that young person's, eyes while they're on the golf course. And I thought, boy, that young man did need to see his dad do that at that time. So that was an early experience that I learned from. And then, yes, it's hard. It's so hard. They have that 3-putt at the wrong time, or they flub a chip, and you just want to pull your hair out as an inside. But I've learned to keep that internal, not let my external body English show that. And then I make a point to, after the round, like there's like a 1 hour time limit, even maybe sometimes more, like, let's go get some air conditioning, let's go have lunch, let's go chill out for a while. And I make a point to not say anything other than give a hug coming off 18 and say, hey, way to try hard. You definitely didn't quit. You gave it your best. And I hold that criticism or that critique back. I make myself put a time clock to it. and then we'll go back to the range, maybe an hour, sometimes 2-3 hours, let the temperatures cool down. And then we'll go back, and then I've cooled down at that point too, because right, we're bubbling up.
Mhm.
And I've had time, I've given it time to my emotions to settle down a little bit and say, now listen, that was a really dumb play you made on 13 when you got everything to the left, you hit it to the right, or et cetera, et cetera. And then I try to walk through it, but then I can walk through it on a factual basis, not necessarily an emotional basis.
Yeah, removing emotion. That's a big one. I also want to talk about this real fast. It all seems so immediate. And there's this like, oh my goodness, it's all about now and it's this golf shot. But you've been around the block. I mean, you've seen countless junior golfers and you've watched your son now grow up to, where he's one of the leading players in the NCAAs. Um, and it all seems so like right now. But the journey, if you really take time, is just so long. Help us to the perspective of that, please.
So there's a really bad thing out there in junior golf and raising junior golfers, and it's these rankings.
Yeah.
It's really dangerous. And they start it on a certain tour and they go to nationals at Pinehurst, and they rank these children. Well, we have Chris Biggins, my director of player development, and I've done studies on that. And those ranks don't last. They actually go the other way. If you're the number one 7-year-old in the world, as they might say you are, you never stay there. You
Yeah.
just inevitably go the other direction. And I had a little boy go there many years ago, and he came back and he said, I played great, and I'm now the sixth ranked 8-year-old in the world. And I said, well, no, you're not. Those two guys down at the end of the range can whip you. They just didn't go. They just didn't go to Pinehurst. You're
Yeah.
not the sixth ranked in the world in anything. There's two over there that can beat you. So rankings are about what you're doing today, and that's so dangerous. So I've always wanted, I haven't ever wanted the best 13-year-old. I've taught I've taught many that were the best 13s and 14-year-olds, but they went the other way. My
Mhm.
guys who have done the best that continue to get better were never the thoroughbred at 13 or 14 or 15. They always keep getting better. And, as I think we're going to get to that topic at some point, but Davis Thompson epitomizes that. Davis Thompson played in one AJGA tournament ever because it was in his hometown.
Yes, and I was on hand calling his victory, which reminded me his first PGA Tour victory, which reminded me that I've got your number in my phone and I had to reach out to you to get the insights. Okay, but first, before we go there, because you did text me and you were like, okay, there's junior golf and all the stuff that is close to my heart. But then you listed the name Scotty Scheffler. And I'm wrestling with something right now, and I'm dating this, but it's on the heels of the 24 Tour Championship. Scotty has won 7 times this season, including the FedEx Cup. And he played in the FedEx Cup at Eastlake, the Tour Championship, with a lead, every day. And he held on to this thing, and really there was a massive target on his back. And in the end, he came through with flying colors and wins. Um, I want to pitch a scenario to you, and I just want from your gut take. Because he's got the big lead starting the final round. I think it was 5. It gets whittled away some. And then on the 8th hole of the day, he shanks a bunker shot. And Colin Morikawa, who's in the final group with him, makes birdie. And all of a sudden, that leads 2. And us in TV, this is drama now, so we're loving this stuff, right? It's storylines. Scotty gets up there on the 9th tee, which is a 230 something yard par 3, hits it to about 4 feet, makes birdie. 10, driver wedge to kick in range, makes another. 11 downhill par 3, 6 iron something, 15, 20 feet behind the hole, makes that. Folks, if you're not watching on YouTube, Eric just pointed with his fingers if to count it, right? So here's the thing. I've been wrestling with what is tough golf, because to me, Scotty Scheffler put on a mental masterclass and showed toughness that you can't measure by bouncing back the way he did. So I'd love your take there, please.
Yeah, I think somebody like Scheffler, it does all our hearts good to see him shank a bunker shot or a bunker shot, right? Because it happens. It actually happens. And he hit a mediocre pitch shot from there. You could tell he was still rattled. But then to roll that off, I like to call it an awareness switch. And I think he hit his awareness switch and said, hey, things are going wrong here. Acknowledged it and then he went to town. So he flipped a switch when he shanked the bunker shot. Obviously, he wasn't 100% engaged in what the day was going on, or he was being distracted by the outside things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he hit that shank, made that, and then Morikawa makes birdie there, boom, he flipped the awareness switch and said, things have to change, and they have to change right now. Boom, he flags it on number 9. So I think a lot of people just never hit the awareness switch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens when they drive it off the tee to the right and they're in the woods and they're still thinking about the birdie or par they're going to make. I like my players to flip the awareness switch and say, if I make bogey here, it's fine. I'm in trouble now. And I see so many people that just never kind of flip that awareness of what is going on in this situation at this time. Scheffler obviously recognized things were going south quickly, flipped to the best player in golf in the world, and got ultra focused on the task at hand. And then the rest is history.
I love that. I'm the kind of human being, maybe it's the announcer within, I don't know what it is, but I'm always looking at the shadow side of the bright sunshiny day. And I would call that I love the awareness switch, but I'm thinking of an awareness toggle because I've seen so many golfers, they hit the shank shot and then all of a sudden they flip the switch to go, oh my gosh, I don't have it. The world's crumbling in. And then they go in the opposite direction of where Scotty went. I'd love your take there.
Yeah, I think you look at it like, holy cow, I've had some bad holes. I know I've got good holes coming. And now this, I've completely lost focus on what's going on today. Some form of, in his mind, he flipped an awareness switch and said, it is time to go. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this tournament. And then the true Scotty Scheffler, the one that shanked it isn't the true Scotty Scheffler. The one that hit the shot on 9 is.
Yeah, but I would say too, and I'd love your disagree or agree. Um, it's not like it's a physical, got to change something in my swing switch. It's completely mental and how we view ourselves as a competitor and a person.
I don't disagree. I agree 100%. Is what I tell people all the time is, have you ever seen the student that shoots 42 on the front 9 and then 34 on the back?
Yeah.
I always say that he didn't have a magical cheeseburger at the turn, right? His golf, if I was videoing their golf swing on number 6, and then you didn't know I was videoing their golf swing on number 11 or 12, you would not know the difference in their golf swings. But the pressure was relieved after the 42, and that same golf swing relaxed, and then they shot 34 on the back. So that is inherent tight wire pressure that we most of the time self-impose. I don't want to act or pretend like I'm a sports psychologist by any means. But that old saying of it's okay to walk across the tight line at a foot above the ground. What changes when it's 300 feet pressure, right? So
I love
so
that.
we quite often put too much self-imposed pressure on us with expectations of doing great instead of continuing to stay in that process.
Well, I guess that gets back to you where you were like, like Ryan, your son, he realized he likes to have fun on the golf course and maybe mitigate some of that pressure that's self-imposed or imposed from wherever.
Yeah, the more fun he has, the better he plays.
Mm.
And the more confident he becomes. So some people, I teach lots of players they're negative self-talkers. They have to have a little chip on their shoulder. They have to be mad at somebody or something. Their motivation is to always prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
And I've seen that be very successful for players. My only problem with that is I think that's a little bit of a self-defeating prophecy. That's always kind of pulling water out of the glass, where I'd rather be filling the glass up with water and building blocks of positivity.
Love it. Okay, let's get to Davis Thompson. I was on hand there for the weekend golf at the John Deere Classic in 2024. And the round he put together on Saturday was just spectacular, almost flawless. And then for a guy that hadn't won on the PGA Tour, he had been close. I mean, he battled Rahm head to head a few years ago at the American Express event in the final group. The final day was thoroughly professional. So I want you to kick us off with lessons we can learn from Davis, just with attitude, because he just seems like he's just so okay with everything, no matter what's coming down the pike.
Yeah. So Davis is extremely grounded in his faith,
Okay.
and he is extremely calm person. He's a bit on the shy side. He's a little bit reserved, but he's just so calm. It's unbelievable. So he was able to build off that calmness. And the good news was, I always think that good golf never goes unrecognized, as his dad and I talk about all the time. And he was trending for something good to happen, right? This wasn't lightning in a bottle by any stretch of the imagination. He should have probably won the tournament at Myrtle Beach. If he'd hit a couple more fairways on the back nine, I think he would have won. Missed a couple fairways there at Myrtle Beach, but he was trending in the right direction. Then he gets to John Deere, and the Saturday round set it up, which I thought, okay, now, and we texted and just texted that evening. But I thought if he shot 67 the next day, there was no way anybody could catch him. That was kind of my target number on Sunday, that they couldn't catch him if he shot 67. Well, then he went out in well, I think even better than the Saturday round was the front nine on Sunday, where he shoot 30 or 31.
Drop the hammer quick. Yeah, no,
he just ripped the hammer on the front nine. So all the pressure in the world on Sunday to, can you close this out? Can you shoot 67? Well, that 67, I felt it started tasting pretty good after he shot 30 on the front nine. So that's the first thing that I like to talk about and teach, is I've never seen a great round not get off to a great start. I always think great starts are very important. And even if rounds tend to fail or fall along the way, if you get off to a great start and get it a couple under par, you've got, there's some room for a little bit of a couple bogeys, etc. But I always want my players kind of ready to go at the first tee, the first round. And I talk about that a lot with my players that go to Q school. Don't wait to be lightning in a bottle on the fourth round. Q school starts on the first tee, the first round, the first day. And that's what Davis did on Sunday morning, is to go out in that front nine on the last round. Was amazing how he played.
Let's mind that a little bit, because good starts are not accidental. They're not happenstance. Good starts, to me, happen because of what went before the first tee shot was struck. So advise us a little bit, because like I was on the range with him before each round, and he was light. There wasn't a lot of, golf swing construction or whatever, but it looked like the mind was clear. The routine was precise. He went through his, basically what looked like his regimen. So talk to us about preparing for that round that means something, please.
So he and I talk a lot about, I call it performance versus perfection.
Okay, all right.
And we get together many times when he's played in his majors or whatnot. You don't see me at the major with him, because I was there the week before, either at a tour event or at his home in Sea Island. And that's the time where we're perfecting. We're trying to fix everything that needs to be fixed. And I call it it's like a wavering chart here, that you can either stay in the perfection side, where I see lots of players trying to make it perfect. And once they get it perfect, they have this belief that then they will perform. Well, there's a time to perform and not work on perfection. Yeah. And so we're very crystal clear on, he doesn't want to go play any of those competitive rounds with a whole lot of swing thoughts or trying to grab what I call grabbing smoke. He has one clear idea that usually it's a feel, and we have a little feel drill in his pre-shot routine. He feels it, he captures that feel, and then he takes that feel one step into the golf shot and repeats the feel. Feels are so much more important and so much easier to grab than thoughts. So he captures a feel and then goes and repeats the feel in his motion. And then with all of our time working together, that's why if you'd seen us the week before on the range, we've got all the alignment sticks, we've got all the teaching aids, we've got all the stuff out there working on perfection, to then go not have to worry about that and go perform. So what you were seeing before those rounds is he's in what we call perform time. It's time to perform. Others have called it train it, then trust it. That's our trust it time. It's time to trust what we've done and go play well with it.
Performance versus perfection. Hey, you talked about the feel in the swing. I feel like so many golfers, I think Rory McIlroy pops to mind, where the routine's the same, whether the golf swing is operating on the day or whether it isn't. And the practice swing, It's just the same thing. It's like a little halfway move back and forth. It almost seems like it's more just like a loosener upper than anything else. But if you're searching for a feel, now I'm not saying go Justin Rose, but would you advocate to most of the listeners, viewers, to say, hey, if you have worked on something to galvanize that, maybe your practice swing might look a little different? What's your take there?
Yeah, a little bit of an exaggeration
Mm-hmm.
feel. You see people do the big over the top move because they tend to get too stuck up underneath. So they'll take a big over the top move. That's not because they're trying to swing over the top. It's because their golf swing tends to get too shallow and too from the inside. So I worked with Graham McDowell for many, many years, who would fight a shut club face and swing it too much into out to the right to try to offset that shut face. So we would work on a fade motion or a cut motion in his golf swing to negate or take some of that hook motion off of it. So yeah, I just am a big believer of, like, Davis will take a little split hand grip, a little exaggerated form to push his right arm, make sure his arms get back down in front of him and not fall behind him. So he'll be on the golf course even when another guy is hitting. Nobody's seeing him. He'll go over and stand to the side, do one or two of those. Now he's caught his feel. Now it's time to go perform.
I think that's overlooked because everyone's measuring data and stuff all the time, but it's what goes on between shots that is just so apparent. I mean, on this very show, I've had Hal Sutton, and he made a statement that hit me in my forehead. And the statement was, he goes, bad shots have happened before you've even swung the club. He goes, and I paraphrase, he goes, and good shots have happened before you've even swung, because it's how you're preparing, it's how your mind is. It's what you've set yourself up for before you even stepped into the golf shot.
I think there's brilliance in simplicity. If you know something inside and out, you're able to explain it in very simplistic terms.
Mm-hmm.
And the arguably, or considered the best instructor ever was Butch Harmon. I think you'd be shocked if you went and got a lesson from Butch, who was dear friends with my mentor Phil Rogers. They
Yeah.
used to say, I had these two eyes long before that orange box. And I think the simplicity that is needed to play well is very important. And to take something very complicated, Davis and I do all the TrackMan stuff. We measure our numbers. We do all those things. But I haven't seen the players that are really addicted to that stuff perform like Davis does.
Yeah. It's so true because you're right. Like, I've seen warm ups on the tour, and you'll see people hanging on every little bit of data that's coming out there. Now, yeah, you're measuring, how far the ball's traveling and such. But on the day, it was I don't think he had it out there the one day. It might have been a cursory glance if it was. He
Yeah.
was just standing there, and this is why I wanted your take too. It's like on the range prior to going, he was hitting shots. Does that get back to the performance thing? Because it also wasn't like just one target. He was moving around a little bit as it was loosening up.
Yeah, we definitely do that. And once again, I'm a believer of, instead of sometimes saying, hey, let's get the club more out in front of you and swing down to the left, I'll say, hey, hit a cut at that right tree for me.
Yeah.
And then what does this swing do? His swing shapes to the shot. So I like to make him hit shots to get the desired shape I'm trying to get his swing to perform. He'll go to the range and hit lots of punch cuts. Just stand there, and if he knows he can hit a punch cut that starts just a little bit to the left and fall a little bit to the right, hey, things are working pretty nicely as I go into this round.
You know what I'm hearing that's making me smile inside, Eric? It's it's how you have this wealth of knowledge, but it's not all technique. It's about, again, playing the game. You reference Butch. It's, golf is played beyond the numbers. It's such an imperfect sport. And as I watch a young man in Davis Thompson, it's like he had a veteran mindset there under pressure, and he played the game for what each shot represented, not necessarily trying to fit square pegs into round holes.
One of my favorite sayings, and I've lost players because they want more, right? They think there's magic in those numbers and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And I'm old school in the fact that when it's time, you have to put a number on the scorecard, and that gets you the trophies. And somebody asked me during that 2019 honor what's your teaching philosophy? And I said, my players hold trophies. That's my
Yeah.
that's my that's my philosophy is if you look at my players, they hold trophies at every level, boys, girls, whatnot, they hold trophies. So I customize things to their golf swings that work, but ultimately they know how to get the golf ball around the course, and we make their strength stronger, their misses a little less, and they know how to play golf, right? And we can just get so tied up in, you know, there's a bad thing going on in golf instruction, and the younger people could knock me this, I'd be open for criticism, but I don't know that way. My mentors never talked using medical terms. Those are for doctors and hospitals.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't understand when we talk about ulnar deviation, external versus internal on the downswing, clearing your, your rotational vertical trans planes. I don't know how. I hear that stuff and I see it being taught, but I never see those players holding trophies.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's just a very dangerous thing. And that's part of marketing and the media world that we live in and whatnot, is I have to sound smarter than the next person. But really my smarts comes from my success through my players. Jack Grout did it with Nicholas, on and on and on. Randy Smith does it with Scheffler. I think you'd be very surprised at the simplicity of the things that, if you notice, Scheffler works really hard on making sure his
Yep.
grip's in the right. He grips it right every time. And that's another thing that he said, what could our listeners take away that Davis does is, I would say you can always take away perfect fundamentals. David, those sessions when we're together, we first check his grip, his posture, and his alignment. He has perfect fundamentals to, like your friend was saying, is before the shot was ever hit, he was ready to go. And Davis is 6'5". He's big and lanky. He was a great basketball player. And weeks on the road make him he gets a little bit slouchy in his posture. He gets comfortable instead of athletic. And then his swing starts to get a little bit looser and softer. So we always are trying to make sure that, boy, I'm going to have a perfect body pivot every single time. And at 6'5", you must have a perfect body pivot every single shot.
You know what? And I'm saying this, you're preaching to my choir. And most golfers hearing this have just heard you go perfect fundamentals and they've gone like, just went straight over their head,
Yeah.
because you get to the range and it's like, I'm going to hit this thing and I'm going to try this new swing move and I'm going to do this. But if you're not coming from the right spot, you are guaranteed to have to make one or other compensation to get the ball to where you want it to end up.
100%. 100%. And everybody can start, your golf swing. I like to say your golf swing adjusts to what you give it, right? So if I give it a poor setup, it's got to adjust to a poor swing. If I give it a perfect setup, it's going to adjust to perfect motion. So I like to get my young players in really good positions at address, really fundamental positions, then kind of let their athletic golf swing start shaping in from there. And then we start tweaking and making adjustments off of that. But
Okay.
I see so many people that just you've heard of PGA Junior League, where we play these 2-person scrambles. Well, we take our 8-year-old kids here at the club and we go around town playing these interclub matches, and our little 8-year-olds just thrash 11 and 12-year-olds. And
Yeah.
it's because our little 8-year-olds know how to grip it, put the ball in the right position, and aim right. That's all it is. That is all it is they know their pre-swing fundamentals lead to good shots. And they whip the bigger kids because they're not as fundamentally sound.
One more question. I know you got a litany of folks waiting there for you. I've got to ask you this because you mentioned GMAC. And for anyone who hasn't seen, if you go and search his golf swing, it's idiosyncratic. Graham McDowell, I could set my wristwatch on what he does. And it doesn't, as much as what he tries, it never really changes. Okay.
Correct.
But that's a testament to you as the advisor, because so many teachers in this modern era, it's like they're teaching one method and everyone's beginning to look the same. Where Davis Thompson looks like he's fallen out of heaven, and GMAC looks like he came from the junkyard. And I say this with love because I love him, but he's going to beat your brains out because he's great around the greens. He works with what he has and he kind of plays his game. So I want you to advise folks about remaining true to themselves, but then also doing what Graham McDowell does, which is just being a banshee on and around the greens, because that was kind of his calling card.
100%. You know, I had him all his years at UAB, and then I kept teaching him his few years as a professional until he started playing overseas and he needed more outside advice. But his golf swing hasn't changed this much
No.
in all those years I've known him. But we used to know how to offset, put an adjustment to the things that went wrong, right? We would offset, there's something good, maybe offset it with a little something bad, or vice versa, and accept that grip and accept that really shut face that he's always had. But Graham had something that, to your listeners, is, and you see this in some players, is as the lights got brighter, Graham got better.
Yeah.
That's why he won a Ryder Cup. That's why he won a US Open. The higher the pressure, the better Graham played. And when I was teaching him, I was always excited for Sunday's round. If he was in 8th, that he was going to have an incredible Sunday. If he was in 45th on Sunday, he wasn't worth a darn, because it wasn't engaging him. And so, you know, you have to see in your players, hey, are they comfortable when the pressure's on? And Graham got more comfortable. The bigger the pressure, the higher the spotlights, Graham got better and better. And if he hit poor shots, he didn't worry about it, because he'd go chip and pitch and putt, you know, putt the daylights out of the golf ball. He could roll it so beautifully, and he knew how to put a score on the card.
Hey, you say that. Here's a follow up, because a lot of folks probably heard that and said, "Oh shucks, well I'm not like Graham. I kind of wilt a little bit when the lights turn on." But would you say that that good short game allows one to grow in stature under pressure, because you kind of know, hey, I've got a safety net here that if I don't flush it, I can still make a competitive score? Is that kind of the secret?
100%. You're going to miss shots. You're going to miss that 4-iron. Watch golf on the weekend. They miss a 6-iron. A lot of them miss a green with a 6-iron. But then they take a very basic pitch shot or a very difficult pitch shot, and they rarely make bogeys. They just refuse bogeys because of their short game. So I like those players that scrap it around a little bit, but have just killer chipping, pitching, bunker, and can really roll their rock. It's a big part of the game that doesn't get practiced enough, and gets overlooked frequently.
Okay, I think you've said it already, but for various guests, I asked this question to close, and that question was like, if this was your memoirs now, and you were leaving a nugget of advice to Ryan, whoever, what would it be? I love your take where you were like, you know, what's my philosophy? Well, my philosophy is my players win trophies. But if you had like a parting shot, if this was kind of your sign off, is there something like that?
Yeah, just keep getting better. Even if it's 1% a day, just keep getting better. My son Ryan hasn't played his best golf yet, and I'm very excited about that. He's a great 22-year-old, but I hope he plays his best golf at 25. I've never worried about today. I just want him to keep getting better.
You made me feel a whole lot better about me, and I know you've helped a whole bunch of people around the world, Eric. Thank you. Hey, for folks who want to find you, is there a website? Is there social media? How do they reach out, or how do they follow you?
Yeah, I am on social media. But they're not going to find much. I kind of keep my head in my own pillow here, you might say, at the Country Club of Birmingham. I've become one of those guys that says, that's the guy that somebody said, that's the guy who his players always win, but he never posts anything. So I just kind of go about it that way. I don't know, maybe to a fault, but I was raised not to be self-promoting or braggadocious, and it's all about my players. It's not necessarily about me. But yes, it's Eric Eshleman on Instagram.com. And then I also have a PGA site called e24pga.com that you can look on that. But I don't have a big presence out there outside of my country club.
Okay, I think after this you might. He's at the Country Club of Birmingham. Don't be like me and add a C into Eshleman. It's Eshleman.
Perfect.
Eric, you're legendary, man. I'm so thankful you would join us. And I look forward to connecting more down the road, because this lifts my soul. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm honored to be on here with you today, Mark. You and your brother are legends in the game as well. So I'm honored just as much.